Hi there, this is Solitary Ronan from Solitary Ronan Films, and welcome to another episode of Turkey Love. Today I'm going to have a little talk about John Carter from 2012, one of Disney's largest disasters and turkeys, which I think 10 years on, I think is definitely worth another look. This was just absolutely blasted when it came out. It had a $250 million budget. Obviously it cost that much because they actually shot the film on Mars. And it made allegedly $284.1 million at the box office. So technically it did make a profit, but obviously that probably wouldn't cover marketing and advertising, so it was a bomb, and a turkey based on the Edgar Rice Burroughs novel Princess of Mars, which would have been a better title. It doesn't help it's called John Carter, which is one of the blandest titles of a film you could probably imagine. It also didn't help that it's actually a 12 certificate, which obviously means lots of little children can't go see it, if cinemas are doing their job properly. It was directed by Andrew Stanton, who did a lot of work with Pixar. He directed Finding Nemo and Finding Dory and Wall-E. He co-wrote all the Toy Story films. This was his first, and I think possibly last, live action feature. It stars Taylor Kitsch, who was also involved in Battleship, which I won't be featuring on Turkey Love because that's just pretty terrible. But allegedly Tom Cruise really wanted to do John Carter, which would have been a completely different film. They certainly didn't spend the $250 million on the cast. Taylor Kitsch, I'm sure, is not that expensive. Also stars Lynn Collins, and I think her only role, and it pretty much ended her career as her only leading lady role, I think, and that pretty much ended her chances of being a leading lady in another film. It also has poor Dominic West from The Wire fame, one of the greatest TV shows of all time, who I still haven't seen him in a film that's truly great. Idris Elba, for me, has the same problem. He was obviously fantastic in The Wire, hasn't had that much luck in great films in the cinema. It also stars Willem Dafoe, who does the exposition at the start of the film in a voiceover, and also is the leader of the Tharks, but we'll get to the Tharks later. Also Mark Strong is the lead villain of Space Wizards, essentially. Mark Strong, who always is everybody's favourite bald-headed villain. He gives lots of nice villain speeches. Samantha Morton is Willem Dafoe's character's daughter. And the relationship between those two Tharks are actually one of the highlights of the film, because really one of the problems with the film is the two leads are really bland and uninteresting, but it's all the side stuff that I think is really a lot of fun. Even though, interestingly, Taylor Kitsch is more interesting in the film when he has a beard. I do just hate that trope in films where a character will start off with a beard, and that's a sign that, you know, he's lost and he's, you know, hasn't really found his own story, and then once he shaves, he becomes like the hero, and it's like as if people can't have beards. So obviously the beard is removed at some point during the film, and then he becomes the clean-cut hero. So we have a film which starts in Mars, um, as two factions are fighting, and Mark Strong's space wizards give Dominic West, um, the baddie, the leader of the baddie tribe, a special weapon, and he can take over, and he's going to take over Mars. Involves he's going to marry the princess played by Lynn Collins, and then kill everybody in a massive wedding betrayal. I haven't seen that before, have I? And then it cuts to 19th century America, and Taylor Kitsch is the cavalryman with a dark backstory, which is nicely revealed throughout the film. And Bryan Cranston's in it as well. He turns up as his commanding officer, or an officer who wants to get him to fight, but he refuses. They have a skirmish with Apaches, and they end up in this cave, which the Apaches are scared to go into. It's a spider cave. But Taylor Kitsch's character is after this mysterious cave of gold, and he comes across a space wizard, gets his MacGuffin, and is transported to Mars, where he has problems with gravity, meets this tribe of Thark, who are about 8 foot tall, green beings with several arms. And in a nice kind of mechanism of understanding the language, because the Thark start talking with subtitles, and obviously John Carter can't understand them, but then through a lovely little device he learns how to communicate with them and is able to understand what they're saying. And they're kind of a downbeaten tribe, downtrodden tribe, who lets the kind of the red man, as the Martian humanoid characters are called by the Thark. They fight out amongst themselves, and the Thark are kind of waiting in the wings to try and become great again. And John Carter helps them. Again, the relationship between Willem Dafoe's character and his daughter and the rival is one of the more fascinating dynamics in the film, and probably a lot more interesting than the actual two leads. It's just wonderful hokum, and it's hokum that they just don't do very well anymore, and I think it is actually done really well. I mean, some of the CGI is a bit ropey, but other CGI looks good. The creature design is interesting. Personally, the 19th century stuff is a lot of fun and really looks good. There's a lot of really nice humour in the film, and there are fun action scenes. The film was actually, or the story was made in 2009, which was actually called Princess of Mars, which was a straight to Sci-Fi Channel film pretty much, starring Tracy Lords. It was directed by somebody who does lots of haunted shark films and sand shark films. I believe I've probably watched half an hour of it in the Sci-Fi Channel at some point. And then this Disney version was made in 2012. But apparently there's rumours of a TV series on Disney Plus now. Because again, I think 10 years later, enough distance has been put between the film and the box office disaster it was. Even though it still made over 250 million. But obviously it wasn't the massive hit. I mean, on the cover of this bog standard Blu-ray, somebody from Collider.com, whatever that is, has put Star Wars for a New Generation. Again, this is something that critics like to strive for. This is going to be the next Star Wars. I mean, I saw I think it might actually be in the front of the Blu-ray for Denis Villeneuve's Dune. I'm sure somebody says it's Star Wars for the new generation. And it's like, personally, I would rather watch John Carter than any of the modern Star Wars films. I know that's controversial. And I would probably watch John Carter before I would watch any Hobbit or Lord of the Rings films. But again, that's just me because I'm weird. It's 2 hours, it flies by, lots of fun to be had, wonderful humour, nice set pieces, even if the 2 leads are a bit bland. And you can watch the film pretending that Tom Cruise is actually John Carter. It's just a wonderful piece of hokum that I think does deserve some reappraisal once you forget the box office bomb. But really, who cares about a film if it's a box office bomb? You either enjoy it or you don't. It doesn't really matter how much money it made or lost. Yeah, turkey love for John Carter, please. So thanks very much for watching this episode of Turkey Love. Please let me know what you think of John Carter. Don't be too harsh. And hopefully you'll join me again for more Turkey Love. This is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, saying farewell.